Hey everybody, it's Mickey Mikeworth, and you and I are going to talk about a prosperity blocking behavior. And this prosperity blocking behavior usually comes up when people are avoiding accountability. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we don't know why we're avoiding it. It's just that we sort of don't feel like doing it, that you'll just feel that you're not really willing to opt in, that you just kind of go, I'll do it for a while, and then I just kind of scurch away and you don't want to actually have anyone check that mark to go, yes, I got that done. Yes, you got that done, right? So sometimes we avoid a lot of things. And these are high achievers. When I look at people who are extremely successful, who have done a lot of things, and they may be people that will automatically do that, but everybody avoids stuff. Everyone avoids stuff. And so when we have them in group or when we're doing one-on-one consulting, I start to kind of dig into what's under the thing, right? What's the thing under the thing, under the thing, under the thing. And it's really that thing that is hiding right under there that you don't want anybody to see. So we're going to talk about how to move forward, even though it looks like you're very highly successful, but you kind of know you're hiding a bunch of stuff and you're masking and you're really not doing the stuff that you want. And you maybe feel bad about it when nobody's looking and you're not going to talk about it because you're stuck in that agency in your head. Hmm. So step one, right? We want to move forward in our life. And we want to move forward in a way that allows us to accept accountability, to be willing to accountable, to be able to have the dream life that we want. But we feel stuck, we feel avoidy, and it's not working. So the first thing is to start to forgive the stories of all the times that you wiggled away from not achieving the things that you want. A lot of times there's this narrative that's running around in your head around all the ways you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, right? That there's this list that's somewhere buried in you all over. And sometimes that's the list that you start to kind of bash yourself with. And we have to kind of go back and forgive those moments. And I know that forgiveness and accountability don't always seem like they're coming together, but they do. And so sometimes you have to forgive yourself for putting on the 20 pounds. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for not eating right. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for making bad decisions. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for terrible relationships. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for being tired and angry and annoying. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for just not having the desire. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself that you didn't grow up to be a ballet dancer. There are so many stories that hold power that aren't deserving of the energy. And what happens is that you'll silently drown in them. And that's not going to be how you get to where you have to go. So one, how do we start? We start with a journal. And that journal is mindful isolation, right? Being alone with yourself with a better question. And really just mindful isolation. I'm alone. Mindful isolation is 20 minutes of time. And just saying, I'm going to be in mindful isolation for about 20 minutes. I'm going to write down all of these stories that I can think of about all the stuff that I didn't do right. And so I just limit it to that 20-minute time to go, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do this. I was a passive parent or a permissive parent, or I was this kind of person, or I didn't do this. We all have these stories, but putting them down on a piece of paper is the first step. Step one, step one in letting it go. And we have to understand that each of those stories has this little energy packet that you can't always see. And that energy packet is still has some sort of sensory expression within you, especially if it makes you feel crummy or especially if it feels undone. Uh, having something feel unfinished is 100% of the time part of the problem. So when people come into our accountability group, a lot of times they're like, I have all this stuff that I've been stuffing back here for all this time. I'm going to come into accountability group and I'm going to do it. Yes, but you didn't forgive it. And you didn't necessarily look at the stories that you were telling yourself around that. And if it's not something that actually is in this season of your life, it's not worth doing. So I have people that, they've wanted a newsletter for 20 years. Guess what? For some reason, you're not doing the newsletter. Let's look at, right, what is the reason that that newsletter is not coming? What are the stories that you have around that I haven't done a newsletter? And a lot of times I'll have people say, well, I mean, I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and there's a story. With that story is an energy packet. And that energy packet can be around scarcity, it can be around a lot of other things, but it's a sensory expression. And what that means is that somewhere there's some sort of expression that has to happen. And in order to have transformation, in order to have abundance, we have to change the way that we are dialoguing about it. And one of those ways, I wrote down a little note, which is it is a way to, today I'm ready. Today I'm ready to. Today I'm ready to look at that goal again. Or today I might be strong enough. And that one I like the most. When I look at, right, how do we move from one way to the next? I have to arrange my little notes here for you. So I'm not losing you, but how do we forgive these stories and these energy packets that we have? And how do we unwrap them so that we can look at them, define if they're really the right thing, and then figure out how to move them into transformation and abundance? And sometimes it's not a yes or a no or an on or an off switch. It is to say, how do I build agency again? And agency is that ability to lean in. I'm ready to lean in towards that, as opposed to going, yeah, ugh, right. We offset and we put other barriers in so that we can kind of go, oh, maybe no, I'll avoid, right? Avoiding and dodging. We do a lot of that. So the way that you can still protect yourself, because your mind isn't going to want to get rid of it very quickly. So how do you still protect yourself yet lean in towards agency? How does the mind still think that it's okay to hold on to it? It doesn't feel as though it has to give up that energy packet, but it can allow a new sensory expression. And that's where it says, I might be strong enough. I might be strong enough to focus on repairing and releasing something. And so sometimes I will say, I'm strong enough. I might be strong enough. I might be strong enough. I might be strong enough to focus on better eating for this next month. I might be strong enough to do these other things and releasing stuff from my past. I might be strong enough to connect with my network. I might be strong enough to call that person I've been avoiding, as opposed to going, I am strong enough. Well, if the interior of you doesn't believe that, it won't do it. But sometimes that's all it needs is a might. I might be strong enough. I might feel healthy enough to go on a longer hike. I might feel strong enough to repair the things that I was afraid to repair in a relationship. And so as we are going into forgiveness, remember, forgiveness isn't an on and off switch. It is a pattern that we are moving on so that we can not feel scarce in our life. Prosperity is the ability to magnify. If you are magnifying scarcity, it feels real crunchy. But if you are magnifying, I might be strong enough, it feels very different. So those are the words I want you to take away from today is I might be strong enough. It doesn't mean you have to give up the old way. It doesn't mean that you have to instantly forgive, but it does mean you might be able to forgive. It might mean that you might be able to repair something from the past. You might feel strong enough to release something from the past. And that in and of itself starts to move forward. And now your body is going to search for reasons that it might be strong enough. I might be strong enough. And what also happens at that moment is the answer that you need is presented. So, and what do I mean by that? It means that if I kind of hear that thing in my voice, in my head of, I might be strong enough. No, I'm not. Okay, why am I not? Right? You start to kind of ask yourself some questions. But I have one the other day where I was like, you know what? I might be strong enough to actually try running around the block. And then instantly my head went, oh, but your knee is screwed. Oh, okay. So you know what? I might be able to repair my knee. I might be able to work on my knee this week. So sometimes it will just give you the key so that you can start changing the sensory expression of how you are dealing with that story that's there. And that energy packet of the way that it's kind of folded up will start to unravel a little bit. It'll start to open a little bit. And just like petals on a flower, it just suddenly starts to take a breath. And that is how you have abundance transformation. It isn't one thing, it's not a switch on and off. It's by looking at how do we ease it open? How do we move a little bit this way? Move a little bit closer. Get a little nearer to what is really the story that needs forgiving. And the higher achiever you are, the smarter you are, the more you've done in your life, the more you've found ways to pack it and storytell and package away and stuff things away so that other people can't see them. So if you are someone who does this, you're probably very smart and you probably have done it a very long time and it probably was a survival skill. But it's also a skill that isn't going to help you in the next parts. So we have to clear all that out and we have to forgive those stories. And we do that by mindful isolation. So taking the 20 minutes and really just taking 20 minutes in mindful isolation and really finding out what are the stories? What are the stories that I don't want to let go of? Or what are the stories that I feel shame about? Or what are the stories about the times that I didn't make it? So what are all those little stories? And then we'll start unwrapping it. And that first key is I might be. I might be. I might be ready. I might be strong. I might be ready to repair. I might be focused enough. I might have enough money to. So just start with I might. Just ease it forward. All right. Have a great time and thank you. Thank you for being on this journey with me. It is important and you are important. And I appreciate every single time that you show up because it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see you do well. It's beautiful to see you be well. It's beautiful for you to act well. And I'm proud of that work for you. So have a great day and I will see you in the next video. Bye.